Before we get into the biggest controversies that alter the course of the NFL, we should talk about where the NFL currently stands. Across 32 independent businesses, or teams, the entire NFL organization is valued at approximately $190 billion, with each team valued at over $5 billion, with a majority of its revenue coming from media licensing deals, brand partnerships, and merchandise. Now, that's a lot of money. To put it into perspective, one of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rockets costs a little over $69 million. So with $190 billion, you could launch nearly 3,000 rockets. It's even more than the entire GDP of many countries like Indonesia, Denmark, Ukraine, and others. Since its inception in 1920 in Canton, Ohio, the NFL has become not only the largest and most popular sport in the United States, but also a cultural cornerstone. From pioneering sports broadcasting to creating a yearly national event that injects millions into local economies, the league's influence is undeniable. But with such a massive presence and impact, the NFL hasn't escaped its share of controversies. During our research for this video, we uncovered a surprising number of incidents that have rocked the league. While each is significant in its own way, today's video will focus on a handful of the infamous scandals, the state of player care, and misconduct. And while most of these controversies have passed their time in the news cycle, the impact they made on the sport and organization as a whole can still be felt to this day. Let's start with Bountygate. The story begins in 2009 with Greg Williams, the recently hired New Orleans Saints defensive coordinator, who took a rumored locker room tradition of bounties to a whole new and dangerous level. For some background, NFL players had reportedly orchestrated informal bounty programs for decades, despite an NFL rule against non-contract bonuses. Here's how it worked. Right before a big game, the team would offer a monetary bounty, sometimes $500, sometimes over $1,000, to whomever could deliver a big hit to an opposing team's key player, and the cash would be yours. Now, most of the time, the result was indistinguishable from normal football play. Players viewed it as a private game, and often the task was nearly impossible to achieve. Most of the time, the league reportedly turned a blind eye to it. But when Williams joined the Saints in 2009, he not only encouraged the practice, he systemized and led it. Players were promised thousands of dollars to try to get a player removed from the game. The stakes were raised even further during the 2009 NFC Championship game, where linebacker Jonathan Vilma allegedly offered $10,000 in cash to anyone who could knock the Vikings' Brett Favre out of the game.
That is the third personal foul, but Brett Favre doesn't look healthy as he staggers around and now squats down at the 30-yard line.
This wasn't just whispers in the locker room, it was a coordinated effort to injure opposing players. The Saints went on to win that game in overtime and eventually claimed their first Super Bowl victory. But that year's winning legacy was soon tarnished. In 2010, a whistleblower came forward, providing indisputable evidence that the bounty program was more than just rumors. An NFL investigation uncovered the shocking truth. Williams had been leading the program for years. The findings led to one of the harshest punishments in NFL history. Williams was suspended indefinitely, head coach Sean Payton was sidelined for the entire 2012 season, and the Saints were fined $500,000 and stripped of 2 second-round draft picks. Several players faced suspensions. Next is Spygate, one of the most infamous chapters in New England Patriots history. In 2007, NFL security officials caught the Patriots filming the Jets' defensive signals from the sideline. Now, trying to decode an opponent's play calls isn't new. Teams have been doing it for decades, with the signals becoming more and more sophisticated. But here's the catch. While trying to decipher plays is fair game, filming them is highly regulated and is prohibited in coaches' booths or on the field. This made the Patriots' actions a clear violation of league rules. The investigation, led by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, uncovered repeated use of the practice going back to 2000, the year Bill Belichick became the Patriots' head coach. Belichick maintained that he misinterpreted the rules, insisting he wasn't seeking an illegal advantage. But the evidence painted a different picture, and the NFL wasn't buying it. They fined Belichick $500,000, the maximum allowed under league bylaws, and the Patriots another $250,000. The team also had to forfeit their 2008 first-round draft pick. But what really fueled the controversy was Goodell's decision to destroy the evidence. Just 4 days after they were discovered, tapes and documents were destroyed under his orders, sparking outrage among fans and even political figures. Then U.S. Senator Arlen Specter called for a congressional hearing, accusing the NFL of a cover-up. Though the hearing never materialized, the league faced increased scrutiny over its transparency and enforcement practices. Fast forward to Deflategate in 2015, and the Patriots were back in the spotlight. During the 2015 AFC Championship game between the New England Patriots and Indianapolis Colts, a Colts equipment manager claimed the Patriots were deflating their balls below the league minimum of 12.5 per square inch to seek an advantage. When you first hear that, you may be like, so what? How does a deflated ball help anyone? Well, in theory, doing this could make it easier for a quarterback to grip the football and for receivers to catch it. But actually proving this was challenging. Each team uses its own football during offense, so being able to track when and if balls were deflated would nearly be impossible. However, when that Colts equipment manager got hold of the Patriots game ball, it wasn't just a souvenir, it was evidence. So, with something tangible in hand, the NFL hired an independent investigator. After nearly 40 interviews with Patriots personnel, game officials, and experts, it was discovered that this crazy idea of Deflategate might actually be true. The NFL's investigation revealed text messages between locker room attendant Jim McNally and equipment assistant John Jastrzemski discussing deflating footballs. Not only were there text messages, but surveillance footage showed McNally taking game balls into a restroom for several minutes after referees had checked the air pressure of the balls before delivering them back to the field. Tom Brady became a central figure in the scandal. During the NFL's investigation, Brady refused to provide investigators with his phone or emails, and just days before his interview, his assistant destroyed his phone. Now, in Brady's defense, he claims this was simply a routine procedure after he got a new phone. But the timing raised suspicions. Following the conclusion of the investigation, a detailed 243-page report known as the Wells Report concluded it was more probable than not that the Patriots had deliberately deflated footballs during the AFC Championship, and that Brady was, quote, generally aware of the deflation. The fallout was swift. The NFL suspended Brady for 4 games, fined the Patriots $1 million, and stripped them of 2 draft picks. McNally and Jastrzemski were suspended indefinitely, returning within the year. The Patriots didn't go down without a fight. They launched a website dedicated to discrediting the Wells Report, challenging its science and conclusions. Brady himself appealed his suspension, but the decision was ultimately upheld. The incident left fans divided. Some saw it as an overblown punishment, while others viewed it as a necessary stand against cheating. In response to the scandal, the NFL overhauled its procedures for handling game balls. Referees now maintain custody of the balls until they are handed off to the ball crew just before kickoff. But the NFL's darkest chapter isn't about rules or cheating, it's about the human cost of the game. Former Steelers center Mike Webster was the first NFL player diagnosed with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, after an autopsy was performed after his death by Dr. Bennett Omalu. Dr. Bennett Omalu's research linked repeated head trauma to severe brain damage, sparking significant controversy. His findings were dramatized in the 2015 film Concussion, starring Will Smith, which brought the issue to mainstream attention. Initially, the NFL fought back, with its mild traumatic brain injury committee even calling for Omalu's 2005 paper to be retracted. But as more evidence emerged, the league was forced to act. In 2009, Bengals receiver Chris Henry became the first active NFL player diagnosed with CTE after his death. That same year, the NFL publicly acknowledged for the first time that concussions could have long-term effects. However, the league continued to dispute the direct link to CTE. The controversy deepened in 2011 when over 4,500 former players filed a class action lawsuit accusing the NFL of concealing the dangers of concussions. A $765 million settlement was reached in 2013, but rejected by a federal judge the following year over concerns it wasn't enough to cover all affected players. In response to mounting criticism, the NFL introduced the Game Day Concussion Diagnosis and Management Protocol in 2011, creating a standardized approach to concussion diagnosis during games. The protocol is reviewed annually and has led to numerous rule changes, including tougher penalties for dangerous hits and adjustments to kickoff rules to reduce high-impact collisions. However, player safety remained under scrutiny with incidents like Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa's repeated head injuries in 2022. After a hard hit against the Bills, Tua stumbled on the field, but later returned to play and was cleared by an independent neurologist. 4 days later, he suffered a severe concussion against the Bengals, leading to a reflexive posture indicative of brain trauma known as the fencing response. The NFL updated its protocols to include ataxia as a red flag symptom, addressing balance and coordination issues when diagnosing concussions. Despite these changes, Tua faced further injuries in 2024, reigniting calls for stronger protections. off-field behavior has also been a source of scandal for the league and resulted in change. In 2014, video footage of Ravens running back Ray Rice punching his then-fiancée in an elevator shocked the world. Initially, the NFL suspended Rice for just 2 games, which sparked widespread outrage over how lenient the punishment was. When the full video was released, the Ravens terminated Rice's contract, and the NFL suspended him indefinitely. The league quickly overhauled its personal conduct policy, introducing stricter penalties and allowing for independent investigations and counseling for players and their families. Since the implementation of the new policy, the NFL has reported arrests among players have gone down by half. But in the end, these controversies aren't just interesting stories inside one of the world's largest sports leagues. They're moments in history that sparked change from how the game is run to prioritizing the health of players. What's an NFL controversy you'd like to see cover next? Let us know in the comments, and if you learned something new today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and visit the resources below to continue down your path for knowledge.